A little boy is playing blissfully with his mother and brother nearby, when a plane flies overhead and he is told to hide. He shoots down the plane with a pine cone in his imagination. He wakes up in his bed looking for his mom, but his aunt shows up instead. She tells him his mom and brother have been killed, but she's willing to tell them he's her son, to spare his life. When she realizes it's too late, she sends him out the window, telling him to run for his life. He reluctantly runs away, searching for his mother and brother even though he was told they were killed. He manages to hide from German soldiers, find food where he can, and drink the rain. However, he is very weak and dreaming of the life he had not so long ago. He tells a hedgehog to send someone for him, and not too long passes before he's found by soldiers. They tell him he's with friends now, and the boy asks if it was because they received word from the hedgehog. Commander Nikolai confirms that it was the hedgehog, and asks his name. He says his name is Seryozha Aleshkov. The boy admits that his aunt told him his mother and brother died, and they comfort him. Nikolai tells him men don't cry, and they'll be here for him now. He eats a good meal. The soldiers talk about delicious food, and write a letter requesting supplies and boy clothes for Seryozha. They're suddenly under attack. Seryozha is in the nurse's tent talking with Katya. When Seryozha asks her to draw him a tank, she agrees, and tells him about the snipers and other types of soldiers they have there. Seryozha brings up his concern for Nikolai in the battle, as more injured soldiers are brought in and Katya must leave him. The commander returns and talks with Katya and Andrei about a goat they found. Standing alone in the woods, Nikolai speaks with Seryozha lovingly, while he questions him about his pistol and orders to take down the fascists. He shows him the gun, and says he received it from the general. Seryozha shows him the tank Katya drew on him, and he volunteers to draw a plane on the commander's cast, since he doesn't have a real one. Katya asks if they can keep the boy here, since otherwise he'd be sent to the orphanage. The commander is resistant to let him stay here, because it's no place for a child. More soldiers stop by to talk with the boy and show him binoculars. Katya expresses her deep care for the boy, saying her heart gave a pang for him when he arrived. She says she's afraid he'll be sent away, but the commander isn't one to give in easily. The next day, another soldier begs him to keep the child at the regiment and they will all care for him. Nikolai fears that he will get too attached to everyone there, and the brass won't give permission for him to stay because he's too little. He dismisses him, and says he's already requested documents from the orphanage. The war escalates as Katya pulls an unconscious man to safety. Many others charge, as bombs explode. When the time comes for Seryozha to get in the car and head to an orphanage, Katya can barely stand it, and after a brief goodbye, goes inside. Seryozha is always telling Nikolai about things he learned related to war, and takes pride in all the information he gathers. Commander Nikolai presents Seryozha with an honorary weapon, for his excellent service in battle. When he tells him a car is here for him, he can't finish his sentence. He asks the sweet boy if he'd like to be his son, and Seryozha asks if he can. Nikolai says they'll give it a shot. Katya and the others talk about making him an outfit, and Seryozha is so pleased with it. His father times him getting dressed, saying it should only take a soldier the length of one burning match to complete the task. It takes a little more than one on the first try. As Seryozha plays and zooms around, planes suddenly fly overhead and his father gets him somewhere safe. He starts searching for him or Katya, asking others when the war will end, and saying he hopes they haven't been killed. An older man picks him up and says there shouldn't be any whining or worrying about someone being killed. You don't even think about it, only think about victory, and no sniveling. Seryozha takes this to heart and goes into the injured tent to start giving drinks of water to the victims. He asks one man if he needs anything else, so he asks him to read a letter for him. Seryozha can't read, so he makes up something encouraging for him, that they love him very much, and his cow is yielding lots of milk. The man asks, "What cow?" And the boy tries to jog his memory, but the others in the tent snicker and tell the man not to object. He simply has a cow now. The boy continues talking about how they'll win the war, and his family will make him an endless supply of delicious cakes. He goes to read another letter, but finds a photo. He offers to sing a sweet song for them, about a time when they were smiling, alive, with green grass and loved ones, in a photo not so long ago. After the chaos, the commander finds Seryozha and Katya, very sleepy, waiting for him. Since the boy is sleeping, Nikolai tries to tell Katya something, but can't find the words. Seryozha wakes up happy to see his dad and updates him on how he was scared at first, but then brave, and chose to be his little helper. Like the orderly, he points out the cute buttons on his uniform and asks who he was supposed to thank for it. They find the remains of the sewing tent. His father tells him in war, one should say thanks in good times. He pretends to shave before paying a visit to his father's tent. He asks if he has a mission for today, so his father assigns him the very important task of getting the post from the post car and delivering it to the platoons. Before giving one man his letter, he orders him to dance, and it's a great show. Later, Seryozha is out scouting when he stumbles upon someone hiding in the hay. He runs back to inform Andrei, so he and another soldier accompany Seryozha back to where he saw something, having no idea what to expect. Meanwhile, Nikolai stops to give Katya and another woman a ride back to base, but the car fails to start. The blonde girl gets a mosquito off the commander's face and asks him if he has a wife back at home, because he's too handsome to be single. Seryozha's tip leads to the capture of 2 enemy spies. He runs back to deliver the mail, but is sad when he's informed the man that danced for him has since died. He returns to his father and demands he not treat him like a boy, because he's a soldier just like anyone else. He says he wants a real gun, too, but his dad distracts him with the adoption papers. He's so happy, he insists they go show Katya and he drags his father along with him. They find a man trying to win her affection, so things don't go exactly according to plan. Later, they're under fire and Seryozha brings a man more ammunition, but he's ordered to go back to his father's dugout. There, he hears that a cable is disconnected, so he ventures on the battlefield to connect it himself. He finds the injured man originally sent on the mission and listens to his directions. Later, Seryozha listens to a man describe what it's like to fall in love to the point where you can't live without them, and decide to be married. The next day, he tells Katya his father has fallen so ill he can't eat or drink or function. She rushes to his side and starts feeling his face and body to find what's wrong. She says it was Seryozha who told her, and quickly ducks out while he speaks. Nikolai decides to run after her. Later, Seryozha meets the military dogs that are trained to help rescue injured in battle. Seryozha gets a ride on the dog's sled, while his dad chases Katya to try to speak with her. The dogs start chasing a cat, pulling Seryozha towards a minefield. A soldier hops on a motorcycle to catch up and stop the dogs from running before it's too late. When the commander finally catches up to Katya, he struggles to speak, but they manage to admit feelings for each other, so Nikolai finally feels brave enough to ask her to become Seryozha's mom. Just then, they get orders to move out. They arrive in the small home of a kind family, who says a German bomb fell through their roof and made a giant hole in the floor, but never blew up. They get everyone and the bomb out of the house. While the adults work, the children get to speak to each other and play with a puppy for a while. As they travel back on the road, a mine detonates. While they gather themselves, Seryozha asks for a mission to do, so his father tells him to inspect the platoon's worn uniforms and weapons. With the help of another soldier, he writes down the names of men with torn boots and worn uniforms. He presents it to the major, who can't help but tell the commander that he'll be the first in line for any needed resources. When given the opportunity, Seryozha asks permission for his father to marry Katya. The major is stunned, but grants him permission. Later, Seryozha asks his dad what it means when they become a guard banner. It's a great honor for those that died and those who are warring. It's a reward. He asks if it means he will be awarded too, and he says of course. During the fantasy, the enemy strikes again, and this time, Nikolai is trapped under debris. His son gets him the rescue he needs. Seryozha's new mother, Katya, tells him his father will be back on his feet soon, and sends him in to see him. Nikolai tells him not to cry, only to be brave. On April 27, 1943, the littlest soldier, 6 years old, of the Great Patriotic War, Seryozha Aleshkov, was awarded the Medal for Battle Valor. He took part in the Stalingrad battle and together with his regiment, reached Poland. His war family became his real family, and he later graduated from the cadet school. He dedicated his life to the struggle against crime. There are no books or songs in their honor, and nobody knows their names today. Those who died by a ravine in the midst of living their life when war took it away.